Hey, welcome back to verifying trigonometric identities here. So I'm going to show you my favorite techniques again here. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick on this left side because it's the biggest. So I like to pick on the bully. Go be the David versus Goliath type guy. Go pick on the big guy here. So what we're going to do is use one of my favorite strategies here of turning everything into sines and cosines. So we don't like this secant on top. We'd rather it be represented in some version of cosine or sine. So what we got here is we've got this version of so we've got this cos or secant equals 1 over cosine, so we can use that. We also have this sine on top over here. So don't forget here that there's two things, that it's multiplication between secant and sine, and we can represent sine as a fraction like that, right? And then so that's the numerator of our big fraction. From there, I want to turn tangent into sine. So we can do that by looking at this reciprocal, or the quotient identity, tangent equals sine over cosine. So we're going to put that there. And then we got this plus in the middle. So we're still adding here. So we're still adding right here. Okay, and then we want to turn cosine or cotangent into cosine over sine. So just turning everything into sines and cosines here. So then what you can see here is we've turned everything into sines and cosines. So my second favorite strategy of all time is to kill fractions. So anytime you see abundance of fractions, do the math that wipes them out. So this top fraction's pretty easy. We just multiply straight across to get sine over cosine on top there. So that's what the new top's going to look like. And then the bottom's a little bit more complicated. We're looking for a common denominator of cosine times sine. So this left one is going to get multiplied by sine to make this common denominator of cosine sine, right? This is the denominator we're trying to make. So then what we're going to get is a sine squared on top. The right fraction over here, this guy, I'm going to have to multiply by cosine, which means I'm going to get a cosine squared over there on the top. And when we add those two values together, our numerator now looks like this, okay? So we started with all these fractions, and see, by multiplying fractions and adding fractions, we're getting closer, okay? So now we want to go ahead and divide these two fractions. So remember that when we divide fractions, we just take that first fraction, and then we're going to multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction, right? Which means the denominator over there is now going to become the numerator. So this is going to be the numerator over there. And instead of thinking of sine squared plus cosine squared, we should just probably use this Pythagorean identity and call that 1. So when we flip that fraction, if we look at it like this, it's a little bit more useful for us. So we use Pythagorean's identity here, sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1, to turn this numerator into 1. What that does is now we're multiplying fractions, which really we can eliminate these two cosines since it's cosine divided by cosine. And what we're going to get on top here is our final answer of sine squared theta. And remember, once we make the left side look like the right side, we verified the identity and we've completed the task. So what I'm grading when I do these is I need to see all of the steps that you got or that it took to get to that right side, okay? So it's not necessarily getting to this answer, it's how did you get there? So I need to see all these details. So remember, do it line by line, be really detailed. Put this equal sign on the right side so I know that you're working on the left, and then keep going until you get to that right side. Okay, we'll look at another example in a minute. Have a good one.